have a quick talk with you about the process of recording guitars for the new Amplifier album, Trippin With Dr Faustus. Let's start with guitars, obviously. As you all know, I play SGs, which is very important on an album about the devil. They probably all look the same to you, kind of being shit brown. They're all quite different. I'll just talk you through the differences and why that's important when you're recording guitars. So, the process is like this. This is my main guitar that I do 80% of my recording with. It's a good middle ground. Not too bright, not too dark, not too heavy, and not too insubstantial. Okay, so 80% of all the guitar tracking or playing live or however recording is done with this. And now at that point, when I've put this down, I'll have a listen and decide whether it needs to be augmented or whether there needs to be any overdubs of any other parts. And then at this point, I'll decide whether I want the overdub or the doubling to be above or below this main guitar. So if I want it to be above, I'll use this one with the single coils. Obviously it's much thinner sound. The wood's a lot less dense, so it's much brighter, and it's got a lighter fingerboard. So this is a very chimey guitar. Sometimes it can be a bit too lively on stage, so you need to be careful about that, but in the studio it's fine. So this will sit exactly above that in the space that doesn't get in the way of this guitar. And conversely, if I want a deeper guitar sound, a darker, more mellow, heavier sound, I'll use the big Bruiser Bully guitar, which weighs twice as much as that one. This guitar, I'll quite often roll the top off completely, and I'll just use it to double this guitar, like exactly. So you can't hear there's any difference in articulation between these two guitars. So especially on the Insider album, I tracked everything with all these guitars. So it was just like the thickest composite sound that you could get. On Trippin With Dr Faustus, didn't really need to do any doubling really, because of just the nature of recording on tape and how we recorded the album, which we'll go into in a minute. So, but anyway, that's my main guitar recording process. And strings, 10 on top, 52 at the bottom. So just nothing unusual. Plectrums, whatever's lying about, literally. Don't really have much of a preference, so you know, cheap. Okay, pedals. Let's go to pedals. So here we are. This is my touring rig. When I record, I just pull the bits off from here that I need to save having extra noise. Just a couple of things that you definitely need to make an amplifier record. You need your wah-wah. You've probably got one. You need lots of different layers of distortion. Here I've got 6 different layers of distortion, but you'll have your own distortions that you like. You need the Boss DM3 for the sound of being in a coma. And then you need the Digitech Space Station. A Digitech Space Station for the sound of being in intergalactic kind of territory. You'll need a lot on the Trippin With Dr Faustus album. It's probably on most songs somewhere in the background. And you'll know it from the octopus as well. And then finally, you definitely need this one, because this is just the sound of a tower block collapsing. So that's what you need. Hello and welcome to aha! Fooled you! You thought it was going to be my massive signature wall of amps that look like they've just been salvaged from a skip fire. No, wrong. We only used one amp. I only used one amp when I was doing this record to do all the dubbing. That's the Mesa Boogie Bastard, and here it is. Almost all with the amp distortion, apart from a couple of overdubs where I might use the Big Muff or the Fab Tone or something very specific, a very specific pedal distortion. The reason that the guitar sound is so massive is basically down to this and the tape. Yeah, we didn't have the indulgence of having loads of channels to be able to record 8 amps all multi-mic'd and then spend like 2 weeks balancing them all up in the computer and you know, exporting them. So that's really boring. That's file management. This is playing the guitar. So Radial JDX, buy one if you record guitars. It's a dummy load box that goes after the power amp and before the speaker amp, and it makes an electronic rendition of your amp. And what you do is, at the same time, you record with a mic. So here, the humble SM57, and then you put this in phase with that, or rather that in phase with this. Okay, and then when you bring them together, it makes the biggest, most wonderful, creamiest, brilliant guitar sound you've ever heard. It's just that simple. That's it. You don't need all that other shit. Get rid of it. That's what you need. Get into it. And then straight onto tape. And that's the magic. So here we are. We're at the magic end now. This is the bit I've really been waiting to show you. The other stuff's dead boring. But this is an Otari MTR90 tape machine. It's a Mark II. It was made in 1986. This tape machine, this model of tape machine, was the industry standard tape machine that you would find in any studio that you might go in, where, you know, Tapao or Paul McCartney might be recording. Yeah, in the 80s and 90s. And then obviously with the advent of Pro Tools and digital recording, these things were just dumped, basically, because they're expensive to maintain. They use a massive amount of power. They're really impractical. It takes 6 people to move this tape machine, so completely impractical. But they sound amazing. They just the sound of this compared to a computer is just not comparable. Okay, so yeah, this very tape machine, in fact, came from Sweet 16 in Rochdale, which is was Lisa Stansfield's studio. So Lisa Stansfield has been on this tape machine. Not necessarily on it, but definitely on her voice has been on it for sure. Yeah, so have a look. 2-inch tape, so that's 1/24 of 2 inches for each of your tracks. Beautiful reading lights here. Full nuclear industrial build throughout. You're going to need a van and a toolkit if you want to use one of these. Okay. So why should we record on tape in the first place, as opposed to the convenience of recording on a computer? Well, it sounds better. That's why. So you can't even compare the sound. The nature of tape is flawed. It's not perfect. The materials are different. They're not consistent. The tape turn, you know, the power's like inconsistent. There's wow and flutter. It's all these tiny little variable things that go into making the sound of tape pleasing and organic. It's true, right? Okay, it's not just like some jargon. That's bullshit. It's actually true, and that's why we could record with just one amp on this album, and it sounds amazing, because the nature of tape is forgiving. It's very pleasing in itself. So you can record in an environment that's acoustically far from perfect, but this kind of smudges over it. It's like in Dynasty, whenever you see Crystal Carrington and she's like shot through that diffuser. So that's to hide that she looks like a witch, right? That's what this is like. So I mean, like, this is just our humble little room. Like it's really, you know, it's a dump. You know, it's a storeroom. You know, but we could make this record here because we had a tape machine, and because the tape machine makes rock music sound great. That's really, you know, it really is as simple as that. Let's have a listen to some stuff back from tape, like classic albums, and then yeah, I've always wanted to do that. Here we are at the Amplifier tape archive with our collection of 5 careful owner, previous owner audio 2-inch tapes. Luckily this was a newer one. Right, let's go. Right, so here we are. This is the tape that we recorded Kosmos on, and the first thing that you'll notice is it really doesn't take up very much room on the desk at all. That's it. Dark Side of the Moon only took up that much space, so we've got this whole much space more to play with. So there's 50 years on. Yeah, let's have a listen. Let's have a listen to what those guitars sound like. Here we go. Here's the rolling guitar at the beginning. The space station. Space station features a lot. Here we go. Ready? Guitars by themselves, they don't really sound that impressive until you put the rhythm section back in, and then you can hear how it's all been fitted together. Because there's less slots available, there's only 24, you have to really you have to be really decisive about what you put in there, so as a consequence everything fits together much better. I would never go back to making an album. Let's just have a listen. Shifted vocals. So the great thing about tape machines is you can do all kinds of cool shit. You can really play around with the speed of the tape. So you can record things at different speeds and then put them back at the right speed, like the Beatles used to do. It's a very effective way of sticking up vocals. Here's the siren. Sometimes the simplest things are the best things. Steve's guitar solo. Yeah, don't like that. Nice and loud. And then this one's mine. This is all like backwards guitar. And we did this by turning the tape over, so it was running back to front. And then you have to kind of, you know, some of the stuff had to bounce together, just to make sure it'll fit on the tape. Is that crazy? But you can still hear like stuff that's changed in the final mix, like the vocal. That's just weird. And the Argo's put like loads of like really cool like distortion on it. It's quite funny going back to the tape because you hear all these things that didn't end up being prominent in the mix because you can't hear them. That's quite nice to do with it. So anyway, this is Kosmos on the Trippin With Dr Faustus album by Amplifier, and I hope you've enjoyed this insight into how we recorded this record and how it was different, and I'm going to leave you with these monkeys.